Ladies, listen, what you need to do right now is go get your husband, go get your boyfriend, go get your teenagers and set them in front of the television. And then you need to leave the room because this program is for men only. Man, we're here today on our program for men only, and I'm here with Ken Armstrong. Ken, good to have you today.
It's great to be here.
Oh, man, and we're in your man cave.
Oh, isn't it nice?
Oh, man, every man should have a man cave like this.
I think so.
This is pretty cool, man. You know, you got a pool table, man. We got a ping pong table. We got a foosball table. You got weights. You got a basketball thing back there, man. So, I mean, this is a great man cave. You don't have this registered with mancave.com, do you?
No, I don't.
You know, guys, listen, if you're out there, there's actually a website where you can go and get a certified man cave where it goes on there. Oh, yeah, man, I've been to it. I tried building a man cave. It didn't end up anything like yours. But this is pretty cool, man.
I'm going to check that out.
All right, yeah. And you got the great maize and blue in here for the University of Michigan.
Yeah, no other team.
All right, thank you. I'm so glad it's not green and white. But you have to be from Michigan to understand that. But listen, man, I like your wall here. You got pictures of the big house, 115,000 people, the largest college football stadium in the United States, in Ann Arbor, the University of Michigan. You got Comerica Park, man, one of the beautiful baseball stadiums in the United States where the Detroit Tigers play baseball. And then you got the Joe Louis Arena where the Red Wings play hockey.
That's right.
And they got all their banners up there.
They've got a lot of banners.
All right, man. And then you got that. You got some other things, but you know, you've also got down here, you got some Zetterberg and some Draper and Yzerman, Steve Yzerman, some of those that played hockey with the Red Wings.
Yep.
Then you got down here, you got Miguel Cabrera. Oh, man. Last 2 years, he'll probably be the MVP. I mean, he won the Triple Crown. I mean, great baseball player. You got the great Ernie Harwell here, Hall of Fame announcer for the Detroit Tigers. And who you got over here? Who are these guys?
Got some Barry Sanders over here.
Who?
Barry Sanders, if you
Sanders.
Remember him. I mean, back in the day when the Lions really racked them up, you know.
All right. But, you know, I look at this, and one of the things I see, especially with these athletes and even with a man like Ernie Harwell, you know, how do you think they got to their greatness? How do you think they achieved that greatness?
Well, man, the only way you can achieve the kind of greatness these guys have gotten to is by allowing somebody that can look at them, see that potential, and then begin to give them that little extra that it takes to draw that extra step, that extra potential. We can get so far on our own and think we've made it somewhere and accomplished something, but until we allow somebody else to look in and see how great the greatness inside and pull that little extra out that we can't get on our own.
Okay, so maybe we might call that thing authority, that if you have right authority in your life, it'll help pull that out. Listen, you'll want us to tune in because we're going to talk about how greatness can get pulled out of you. Ken, we're back here in your man cave. Love this. Love the University of Michigan stuff, Tiger stuff. We got Comerica Park over us there. You got some Lions things, but oh well, you know. So University of Michigan stuff. But you know, we were talking a little bit about really authority and some authorities in our lives, and you know, talk about, man, even somebody like Ernie Harwell, who would love to, you know, be trained, and you know, we're talking to those eagles on the inside of men, and you know, and there's an eagle and a turkey on the inside of every man, and one of the things that I've seen is, in some form or fashion, it seems to be those that rise and those that seem to reach their potential and reach their levels of excellence or greatness, that someplace in their lives they've received some authority in their lives, or you know, and when I mean authority, you know, sometimes people think of, you know, this real strict, I'm going to tell you what to do kind of thing, but sometimes authority is just something like a teacher or somebody. A mentor is a word they use today.
Great word.
You know, and it seems like eagles seem to accept and respond properly to authority, and then it seems like the turkeys, those that don't seem to reach their potential, tend not to respond too well to authority. You know, and so, and guys, if you're watching, listen, we're talking to that eagle on the inside of you. We believe there's greatness on the inside of you. So maybe we're going to challenge you a little bit just in the area of authority and what that looks like, and maybe what that is in your life, and then maybe how you can properly respond to it so that it can pull that greatness out of the inside of you. Now, Ken, let's talk for a second. Who are maybe some, and what are some authorities in our lives that make it a little bit different than that authoritarian type of image most people have?
Well, you know, we all would think authority. You know, we think of a police officer, a judge. You know, we'll think of that, and a lot of times you're right. We look at that as sort of a negative. They're not always, but a lot of times we do spin that way with it. But other way, authorities can be like a boss. Somebody you're working for is obviously an authority. Your dad, your mom is an authority. A teacher is another one, a great authority. Athletes are submitting themselves to coaches. And, you know, do they allow them to become an authority in their life?
Yeah, it's amazing. You know, I mean, I think you mentioned Coach Daly said something about when he was coaching the Pistons. What was he say? What did he say?
One of his great, actually, they turned it into a TV commercial. He'd load them all up onto the bus, and he'd say, man, I got the greatest job in the world. Who else goes and gets the boss around a bunch of millionaires? You know, so.
Okay. But it's amazing, you know, I look back and, you know, and I see some of these sports figures, and I've heard of, you know, some of the great athletes. Someplace in their lives, they listen to a coach tell them, you need to dribble the ball this way, or you need to stand this way, or you need to run through this hole, or you need, you know, they'd take a look at a swing, you need to swing this way. I mean, now, you know, that might not be that authoritarian picture that most people have got, but that's
an authority.
Authority speaking into your life and adjusting some things.
And how you respond to that determines on what level you're going to achieve in your life. We had an individual, I played football in this area. We were the first team to go undefeated for the school I was at, first team to qualify for playoffs. That's before they widened it. Now in high school, so many more go. But we had a running back, most talented guy that to this day, of all the running backs I've seen in high school, talented, fast, everything. But he had a tendency to want to carry the ball with one hand. He would literally take off, go down the field, he's carrying the ball like this. And even one time, he broke a long run. He got all the way to the end zone, and just before he got to the end zone, somebody knocked the ball out of his hand. He fumbled. He didn't score. They get the ball back, right? He got benched. We were 2-3 games into the year, and he got benched, and he no longer went out on that field. Most talented running back we had on the team. Third of the way through the year, he's not playing.
Really? All because of the way he responded to authority.
Yep, coach would tell him, hang on to that ball with 2 hands. He didn't want nothing to do with that.
And you see, it's amazing to me, like these million-dollar athletes. I remember we just came out of a baseball season, and there was a Detroit Tiger pitcher that was having a hard time. And he said he'd go into the bullpen, and he'd just work on his technique, and he'd have somebody that didn't get paid nearly what he got paid that was watching all his mechanics and giving instructions to him. And saying, you need to do this, and eventually he worked himself out of his problem. But he had to respond to that authority. Now, are there any other authorities that you can think of in a person's life that maybe they need to watch how they deal with?
you know, a big one is your mom or your dad. And since we're talking to guys, I would focus on your dad. You know, where are you allowing, you know, that guy has got, all of us are flawed, but that guy's got years of experience of living. He's been through some stuff, he's seen some stuff, and he can give you some advice. He can direct you a little bit. Would you be willing to submit to that?
Ooh. Now, that might not mean, if you're an older man or somebody that's out of home, got your own family, that might not mean that you do everything he says.
Right.
But maybe, how do you respond when he talks to you?
Right.
You know, when he comes and says, hey, Ken, I'd like to talk to you about something.
Right.
You know, do you go and, old man, you ain't teaching me nothing. You don't, you know, sometimes even just the respect if you disagree.
Right.
Of, okay, Dad, thanks. Appreciate you sharing that with me. I'll think about it or pray about it or I'll do something. You know, it's maybe just sometimes the way you respond.
Right.
Whether you agree or not.
Whether you can respond with honor and respect, or respond with, you know, being indignant, you know, and disrespectful. There's a huge part in that, and it molds the way you view people. If you constantly respond to people with disrespect, it's very hard to change it to when you find somebody that's worthy of the respect, to be able to respond to them with the respect they're worthy of.
Wow. So we talked about bosses, we talked about parents, we talked about teachers, we talked about coaches, you know, that some of the authorities, we talked about police. You know, you better respect the police officer. I tell you something, if you learn how to respect the police officer right, you get out a lot of tickets.
That's right.
That's how I know that. But you know, it's important how a man responds to authority and respects authority. We'll be back in a few moments to talk some more about a man and authority. All right. I'll let you shoot, Ken. I set it up for you. Want me to make it for you?
That would be good. That's not a great lead, is it?
Whoa! Nice shot. That's an easy one, see? You get your balls out of my way, I'll beat you. Oh, great.
Ooh, I think that'll work. Yeah, nice sense.
Ken, we're back here in your man cave. And once again, I love the maize and blue, the tiger stuff back here. Lions, I don't know too much about anyway, but love your pool table stuff, man. It's a great place. We've had a couple meetings here. Love it, man. So, but we were talking about authority and what were some of the authorities in men's lives, and we talked about that last segment. I want to talk for a second. Why is authority? We hit a little bit on it, but why is authority important in a man's life? What does it do for a man?
Well, it actually causes a man to yield. And there's really something powerful about the ability. You know, when they talk about a horse, you know, yielding its power. A man built to be powerful, built to be something that can move and create and do. But if it can't yield himself and then keep that power in reserve or keep that power in control, then they can kind of be wild.
Now, I heard somebody say about horses, you know, Mustangs look beautiful. But they don't produce much. They just run wild.
Right.
And they say, you know, sometimes Mustangs look beautiful out, you know, running on the prairie. But one of the things they say is if you really get close, they're not brushed, they're not taken care of, their mane's not taken care of. And so although they might look beautiful from a distance, they actually look rough up close.
Oh, okay.
All right. But they say, you know, a horse that yields itself, like you said, to be broken.
Yes.
That, in a sense, allows a rider to get out. And I mean, we've probably all seen the Westerns and, you know, seen the rodeos and things like that. But you know, there's something too. You know, a horse that's broken, it then becomes useful. It doesn't mean like it's broken that you can't do anything with it. It's damaged. It's actually more valuable.
Right. It's power under control.
Oh, now there's a Bible word for that, and it's called meekness.
Yeah.
And it's interesting. The Greek word for meekness literally means a domesticated animal. You know, any man, and I like dogs, but you know, a wild dog that just runs is
What good is it?
yeah. But you get a trained dog. Now, a lot of people love a trained dog that you say, come here, and he comes, or go, you know, I mean, something like that.
Right.
And, you know, so we look at that and we think, man, I'd much rather have a trained dog than a wild dog.
Right.
Well, which one are you?
That's right. It's a great question, isn't it? Are you allowing authority into your life to bring that meekness in, to bring that control in, so that you have focus to that power, focus to those abilities that you have, those giftings inside of you. You know, you're talking about calling on the eagle on the inside of you. When we're talking about calling on that eagle on the inside of a man, we're talking about calling on those giftings, those powers, that stuff that's on the inside that makes that man unique, you know, the things that are there. And so there's that opportunity for it to be wild, uncontrolled. But yet there's that opportunity by submitting to authority, allowing somebody to come in and be able to speak into their life, that thing becomes power under control. Now, and so much more focused.
Yeah. Now, I think, now this is, we're a men's program, but I'm talking about my wife for a second. My wife was one of the best clarinet players in the entire state of Michigan, I think her senior year of high school, and she went on, she got a scholarship, full-ride scholarship for playing the clarinet, performance, you know. I thought the only people that got scholarships were athletes.
That's right.
But the thing was, she had gone and she had, quote, submitted, or at least gone to somebody and let them instruct her. She went to the principal clarinet player at the Chicago Symphony, who was one of the best clarinet players in the world. But for her potential to come out, she had to sit underneath somebody to tell her, you were doing this wrong, and you need to do this, you need to do this better, that kind of thing. And she didn't take it as like, who does this guy think he is? Well, the guy's one of the best clarinet players in the world, so that's who he is. Right. And she was willing to listen to him, and it caused her to rise to a much higher level because of allowing, and maybe that word authority sounds archaic or something, but to allow a mentor or a coach to bring out that ability that otherwise wouldn't have been brought out. Right. So one of the things that authority does is allows, if you get the right kind of authority in your life, the right kind of teacher, the right kind of coach. Now, I know I've done some things personally, if you want to say professionally, that I've gone and I've actually paid money for people to coach me. You know, to make me sit down and write out my goals and how I was going to accomplish something. And I had to give reports to the guy. Right. And he made me take tests. And he even made me go to my people around me and let them sort of grade me. And I didn't like that. No. But then I had to report to him every week. And he helped draw some things and teach me some things that helped make me, in one sense, better than I would have been on my own. Right.
And that's the key to looking for authority. If you're going to look for authority, look for somebody. You can tell if somebody wants to bring the best out of you or want to dominate over you. And sometimes we focus on authority. We look at that, want to dominate over you. And that's not the kind of authority we're really talking about. We're talking about finding somebody that wants to draw that eagle, wants to draw the strengths out of you. They don't want to dominate over you, but you have to yield to them still.
Well, maybe another word is allow them to teach you.
Allow them to teach you.
You know, somebody said that one of the greatest of all the virtues, the good qualities in a person, is humility. And people could define humility different ways. But I think one of the best definitions of humility to me is that ability to be teachable.
Yep, teachable.
Somebody can say, hey, you know, Ken, you shouldn't do that this way. Let me show you, you know, a better way. Right. You know, and now, guys, talk to you a second here at the end of this segment is, listen, one of the things that'll help you to be the best eagle, the best quality man you can be, whether it's a husband, whether it's a father, whether it's an employee, one of the best things you can do is allow some authority or a teacher in your life to help instruct you. One of the most difficult men to deal with that I've found is a man that nobody can tell him anything, because then he's just limited to his own ability, what he knows, what he understands. And really what it does is it limits you, where if you have some authority in your life and you become teachable, then you can soar like an eagle. Listen, we'll be back in a few minutes and talk some more about authority in a man's life.
Hi, this is Tony Rory from Men of Honor, and I'm coming to you from a public school classroom where we mentor and train young men ages 11 to 17 in principles of chivalry, honor, and integrity. You know, it seems that honor is something that has been lost in this generation, but Men of Honor is bringing it back. We're teaching young men to honor God in their words and in their actions. We're teaching them to honor authority. We're also teaching them to honor their parents. One thing I would challenge you as a man to do is reach out today to a young man and mentor and train them in principles of honor by displaying those attributes yourself. God bless you.
Ken, we're back here in your man cave talking about man stuff, and you know, and maybe sometimes maybe that picture of manhood where, you know, there's almost a certain picture of manhood of independence and I'm going to be my own man, but really we've been talking about really a side that sometimes that the man that accomplishes some things, the man that reaches for greatness, and I believe that there are men out there that want to reach for greatness. I believe that there are some men out there that are tired of mediocrity. They're frustrated with where they're at and they would like to reach for greatness. And I think one of the keys for a man for reaching for greatness, to be the man that he was designed to be or created to be, one of the keys is finding some authority in his life. Right. And not that authoritarian kind of thing, but that type of authority that might teach, that instruct, that you could yield to. I think you said that would help pull out some of that greatness.
Right.
Now you had an idea, or you had a thought. One of the first places to start. Where does a guy start?
Well, the guy starts first, I guess, in determining what you want with your life. You know, first you determine, do I want to reach for greatness? Do I want it? Am I willing? And do I have some dreams inside of me? And what are those? And get that figured out. And then from there, when you know what those things are that really pull you, that grab your heart, and you know that's what you want to be doing with your life, and then go find some guys, go find some people that can actually speak into your life that know about that have success in that area. And you know, sometimes we hang around with the turkeys, as we're talking about calling out the eagles and not the turkeys, but sometimes we're hanging around with the turkeys and we got these dreams inside of us, we want to do something. And all these turkeys are over here clack, 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 clack all the time, and they're always talking negative, they're always putting you down, they don't support you. You know, and that's where we're spending our time. What we need to do is find some people in our lives that have reached the things that we're looking for, and let them speak into our life.
So it's almost not enough just to have a dream. I've heard guys say, I'd like to do this, or I'd like to do that, or I'd like to be this. Well, see, that's great that you want to be it, but unless you take that next step,
right,
of maybe submitting to authority or allowing authority to speak into your life, that could be a next step. So,
right.
So you start with a dream or a desire.
A desire, yep.
Now, and it could even be something like I wanted, a long time ago, I've been into handguns. I've had guns. I've done loading and stuff like that. But I remember when I wanted to get into handguns. I'd had rifles and shotguns. I'd hunted before. And I remember I bought my first handgun. It was a revolver, .357 Magnum revolver. And went there, and my wife even wanted to do this. And so we went out and we bought this .357 Magnum. And one of the things they told us, that we wanted to go out, and my wife wanted to shoot it and stuff. And one of the instructors that was telling us said what they found out through the years is a lot of times the best shots ends up women. And I said, well, why would that be? And it was interesting. It's what they said. Because guys have watched so many Westerns, they come out and they think they know what they're doing, and they just start pulling the trigger. Well, the ladies don't know anything. I mean, in most cases, so they said we can teach the ladies and they will follow our instructions. And then what ended up happening after we got my first handgun, we were shooting 2-liter bottles at about 15, 20 yards. And me and another guy are trying to hit the bottles. My wife picks up the gun. She wasn't trying to hit the bottles. She started shooting the tops, the caps off of the bottle. I took that gun away from her. But you know, the thing was, she wanted to be a good shot. But she took instruction.
Right.
She was willing to let somebody teach her.
Yep. And it's a good point that you made, because if we're not allowing somebody else to speak into our life, we're not allowing them to see us in motion, where they can pick out the things where we're off. You know, like when you're shooting, maybe it's your balance, maybe it's your stance, or the way your hand's on the gun. There's so many things, like golf, your swing, what's your follow through in sports. You know, but in life there's things like that. They can be just little tweaks. You know, like a batter, move your foot back 6 inches, and your swing is in the strike zone. You know, but if we're not allowing somebody else to stand on the outside and look in and see, and then yield to some of that instruction, we can't see it.
Yeah, and sometimes I know I wanted to learn some things about cars. Well, I met a guy that knew a whole lot about cars, working on cars. Now, in certain things, you know, spiritual things and other things, if I could say it this way, I was way ahead of him on things. But you know what? He knew more about cars than me.
Right.
So I'd go over to his garage and he would teach me, and you know, it'd be, all right, Pastor, do this. And sometimes he'd laugh at me and he'd say, go look at that, you know, go look for this. And, would you do this? And I couldn't do it, you know, but I mean, I learned, you know, I learned how to take out engines. I learned how to take out transmissions. I learned how to work on some things. I don't want to say I'm all that good, but the thing is this, I had a desire for something, so I got around somebody that knew that.
Right.
And let them teach me some things.
Right.
So maybe for a guy out there, maybe I like what you said. It might start with, what do you desire? What do you want?
What do you want?
And then maybe find somebody that's good at that and say, can I hang around you? Can you teach me? Can you,
right,
you know, teach me something here? And maybe not think you know it all.
Right. Well, you know, we're kind of sitting in my man cave here. And one of the things that my dad is a construction trade and an awesome builder. I mean, I used to sit and he'd talk about this has got to go this way, this got to go that way, and I'd sit there and I'd go, not following you know. But part of this man cave and some of the other things is I wanted to build it. And part of the reason I wanted to build it was because I wanted to learn. And then I brought my dad in. And it's like, hey, let's do this together. And the ability, and I started to see, you know, how he used to come into an area and say, this has got to be tweaked or that, and it all became something. And I struggled with that. But as I was with him and I began to see it take shape, I began to understand it. And so now I can walk into a room like this. And probably not to the same talent of him, but I can do it to, like you're saying, with the guy that taught you with the cars. You know,
yeah. So listen, guy, if you're sitting out there, you got a dream, you got some things in your heart. One of the keys is to reaching your potential is maybe finding authority, or somebody might be an authority in an area, and let them teach you some things. It won't hurt you. It actually will do you good. And the more you buck that authority, the less of the greatness that's on the inside of you will come out. So we want to challenge you, man, for that eagle to come out. Find some authority, whether maybe in your marriage, if you're struggling in your marriage. Find somebody that's doing it right and has got a good marriage, and let them teach you, and don't think you know it all. Thank you for joining us on For Men Only.